I am not a licensed contractor. This video is to show how I installed my basement windows personally. If anyone chooses to follow my example, he or she is doing so with the understanding that they assume any and all risks involved. Today I'm going to show you how to take an old corroded basement window and replace it with a nice new glass block window. Now these are going to be a lot better for ventilation, insulation, and generally just getting more light into your basement. This is the standard 32 by 14 replacement glass block window. It'll run you about $75 give or take with tax, and you should be able to find it at any Lowe's or Home Depot. Now here are the main supplies that you will need. The hardware stores recommended I use this particular mortar mix because it is made specifically for these windows. It'll run you about $13 per 50-pound bag. If this is your first time applying a mortar mix, I would advise against a fast setting mix. It can begin to set and become difficult to use if you do not mix and apply it quickly. You will need a bucket to mix it in. It's about $4, a heavy-duty grout bag, which is about $5, and a trowel that can be between $5 and $10 depending on which one you buy. Now you'll want to begin tearing out the old windows, and I start by busting up the old mortar that is underneath the window in between the wall and the window frame itself. I used a small hand sledgehammer to do this, and then also a regular hammer just for more precision to bust up the mortar. I wasn't anticipating this initially, so that 3 inches of mortar will have to be replaced with something else. If you have blocks to do it with, I would suggest concrete blocks. Otherwise, you may have to do the method that I used. Now you can take a crowbar or flat bar or any sort of prying tool of your choice and just begin removing the frame. These old windows, when they get really rusty, they don't open as easily as they should, and they're a big pain. But on the right side, when they're this rusty, sometimes they're kind of weak, so they tend to break apart easily, in which case you can just rip the bottom out like I did and then proceed from there. And once you're able to get the window moving, and you can easily detach it from the slots on the side and pull the window out. And then comes the fun part, actually removing the frame that is pretty well placed in there. Next, you'll want to clean the rough opening to get all the dust and debris out of there. This will give you a clean surface for your mortar to adhere to. Now, I used a wire brush to get the rough debris out, and then I followed up with a broom to get the dust out. You'll want to start from the top and work your way down, that way you're not knocking dust over an area that you already cleaned. And then after that, I just busted out the vacuum cleaner, got the rest of it out, and have a good clean space, so my mortar should stick pretty well. Now comes the part where I fill in that 3 inches of mortar that I busted out. Now when you make your mortar mix, you want it to have the consistency of peanut butter or toothpaste, so that you can apply it liberally without it running everywhere, but also be able to move it around without it being too chunky. Like I had said before, if you have a block, some sort of a concrete block that you can get that will fit, I would advise mortaring that in over my method. Unfortunately, the end cap blocks that I tried to use didn't allow me the space I needed to get the window in, so I needed something a little thinner. What I did was I screwed a 2x4 to a 1x4 to give me exactly the 3 inches that I needed, and then I encased it in mortar, which is what you're seeing me do now. When you do this, if you decide to do this, you'll want a pretty thick layer of mortars. That way it sticks very well and gives you the room that you need. And once you place this in the window, you'll want to give it a good 30 minutes, maybe 45, even an hour if you really want to let that mortar settle before you decide to put the window in. Now I'm applying the mortar to the top of the glass block window itself in a very liberal amount, very thick. There's a pretty good gap there that's going to be need to filled in with the grout bag after you get the window in. So I'm giving it a good thick layer on top right now to make sure that I have a good base to work with once I put it in the window slot. Now before you place this in the window, you will need to mortar the top of the brick or board, whichever you used, that is already in the window. And that way when you place the window in, it's sealed both at the top and at the bottom with the mortar. Now that the window's in, you'll want to use your grout bag to fill in the sides, the top, and any other cracks that you can find between the basement walls and your basement window. So just fill it in as much as you can, and it's okay if it's messy and blobby and it comes out because you're going to smooth over it later. Also, you want to make sure that you get the top and the bottom very well. Well, every crack, really, honestly. You don't want any leaks or cracks, no spaces left uncovered. So get lots and lots of mortar in there until it's oozing out. Don't worry about it getting on the windows. You can wipe it right off even after an hour or 2 hours of it sitting there. It's fine. You can wipe it right off, so you don't need to worry about making a mess on your new windows. If you'll notice, I placed a 1x4 on the side here of the window to fill in a little bit more of a gap that I had. I had a pretty good gap once I put my window in there. And now you just need to smooth out all your edges with a small trowel and till everything looks pretty. And this is very difficult. My girlfriend actually helped me do this because I'm not very good at manipulating it. So that's it. You just smooth it out, make sure everything's covered in mortar until it looks pretty to your eye. And this is the finished product. You can always go back and tweak it if you need to, but that's pretty much it. Also, I would advise using some sort of a concrete or masonry sealant to just add an extra layer of protection.